Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the honor and pleasure of having Ron Latz. Ron, thank you for being here today.
Ken, thanks so much. I appreciate it. It's going to be a fun one.
And first off, we're going to talk about marketing today, but tell me a little bit about your background and the business you own now, and how did you get there, and just a little background so people kind of know how you got to where you are today.
Sure. I've been in the legal marketing space for 15, 16 years. Started off with Thomson Reuters. Over the course of the next, decade or so, I had started up what was the initial version of the company LegalFenix. It was really just a side hustle, but in between that, I helped rebuild a smaller boutique legal marketing agency, and just like a lot of other entrepreneurs out there, got the itch to continue putting my blood, sweat, and tears into the dream that I wanted to build. LegalFenix is a legal marketing consultancy. Our primary service offering is fractional CMO services. So we essentially allow firms to outsource and delegate the entire management of their marketing strategy and programs to me and my team, so that they can not only have more success with their digital marketing efforts, but also, be held accountable to agencies that need their involvement, and vice versa, helping the firms keep some of the agencies accountable so that everyone's rowing in the same direction and working towards a common and shared goal.
So like keeping SEO companies, because what I find, Ron, is that most lawyers don't even know what questions to ask the SEO people, and they're charging a lot of money. So do you help with that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there have been firms that have described our service as somewhat of a translator or a mediator amongst the marketing partners, right? Law firms have their specialty in practicing law. They're out there trying to help clients that are in desperate need of the help and the service that they provide. They don't have time to keep up with the latest and greatest and all the different, tactics that you can deploy to ensure that you're generating enough visibility to reach your goals. So if we can kind of step in there and help them understand why it is that the agency is doing what they're doing, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, and the importance that plays in their overall marketing strategy, we found just really opening up those lines of communications between both parties leads to more productive relationships and also just better success with their marketing or SEO efforts.
Yeah. Where are you located at?
I'm based in New York. I've got team members in Oregon and Washington, and then also across the globe, like a lot of other firms out there.
Yeah. We even at Pilma, we've got it. We only have 8 people, and 3 of them are from Pakistan.
Perfect.
But yeah, they do our video editing, our graphics. They work on our website, putting up new stuff and things like that all the time, new content. I think that's the way to go. I really do.
We do the same, Ken. We do the same. We got a lot of the graphics, the design work, connecting clients with these types of resources to help with back-end execution. We have resources that help us out with like data enrichment, keeping up within the project management tools, so that not only are our internal LegalFenix projects on track, but we're managing that on behalf of our clients to make sure that the deliverables that are set forth by, the agency, that they're getting done, and that we can continue moving towards, whatever the next 30, 60, 90 days is going to bring.
It's funny. I've been talking to, lawyers today. I offer free 30-minute sessions just to see who I can help if they got a problem. But what I'm seeing, and I don't know if this is what you're seeing, but I've seen a lot of smaller law firms, like solos, 2-man law firms with like 3 or 4 staff, that you got the big John Morgans coming in. You got the big, I call them 800-pound gorillas from out of state, out of your market, and it's starting to hurt. So what do you tell these lawyers, whether it be like, and most of it's PI, and I know you do criminal, family law, whatever, but I don't think that you might differ with me. I don't think that it's competitive, but it's not near as competitive as PI. PI seems to be the real, really competitive market, and there's a lot more money spent on PI than anything else, what I'm seeing.
A lot more money, a lot more national players, a lot of deeper pockets, right? So I think that in the situation that you're describing, right? Like, how can David beat Goliath, right? Those
Yeah.
big, heavy-hitting national firms, they're coming in with multi-million-dollar TV, radio campaigns. They're doing bus wraps. They've got everything on lock with SEO because they've been investing in it for a decade plus. They significantly drive up the cost in the paid search market. Google Ads, like the average cost per action and acquisition costs continue to rise. They dominate in some of the local service area markets, right? The LSAs, which are volatile at best in most markets, some of the heavy hitters, they are just occupying and dominating that placement most frequently. And it's very prominent, right? It's right up there. So people are gravitating towards it. I don't think that that's going to go away, especially with more money being infused into the industry, specifically with MPI as well. You've got ABS out there, right? So it's not just law firm capitalization that is driving the saturation within these markets. I have worked with smaller firms, 5 to 8 attorneys. They've obviously got supporting staff there. And the ways that I see them really winning is leaning into the trenches of local community involvement, community engagement, and attempting to build a brand that resonates with like their ideal customer. And it's not easy. It's a long-term investment, but when you can start to generate that type of affinity with your client base so that they're referring you to their friends, family, and colleagues, not only is it going to really drive down your overall acquisition costs, but this is an area that some of those big players just they're not really, I don't know if they're not interested, but they don't play that game nearly as frequently, right?
Well, they don't have to. I mean, the deal is that they just throw more money at it, and it's all a numbers game, them volumes. They're doing volume. I've seen a lot of our members at PILMA get rejects from some of these big firms and get 6-figure settlements.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're stringent on what they're taking, and they're getting so many. I mean, I talked to a guy today that was a lead cut, and he's getting 20,000 leads a year. That's a lot of leads. That's a lot of leads.
And the cost for those resources and the infrastructure and the technology, it's a lot. So, the firms that I'm working with that are in that situation and facing, those 800-pound gorillas there, not only do they lead into community involvement and charitable efforts and sponsorships, but they go grassroots. They've got not only like a digital newsletter where they can stay top of mind with their previous and current clients. You've got people that also have the snail mail newsletter, right? It's getting delivered right to their door. It's something that's a little bit of a pattern interrupt. It's different what they're normally seeing. There's been an influx of some of these firms as well, really trying to build a personal brand on LinkedIn too, like taking their voice, sharing it so that they can expose themselves to same practicing lawyers, right? The PI firms are going out there and developing relationships with non-PI lawyers so that they can hopefully get referrals, right? They get speaking engagements. They have opportunities to guest on podcasts. Maybe they go to conferences like PILMA where they can also share their message as well if they're fortunate enough to be invited. Like there are other things that they can try to do to really separate and differentiate themselves and build that brand.
Yeah, I think you hit on, I always liking what's happening now in the PI world as to what happened when Walmart started going into the small towns of America about, I guess, 20 something years ago. I saw it happen. I come from a small town. I saw it, a town with about 8,000 to 10,000 people. And it did run a lot of mom and pops out of business, but there was some that thrived. And it's just like you said, they differentiated themselves. They did something that Walmart wouldn't do. The extra, they got involved in the community, or they did some kind of service that Walmart couldn't do because it was too big to do it. And I think that's what lawyers got to do. And I really think, and I might be wrong, and every time I say this, all the lawyers say, I don't want to do that. Listen, property damage, I think that this could be a differentiator from these big firms because they're not going to do it. But if you can help them with their and there's enough of resources out there now with this thing called True Claims, where you don't even have to do a lot of the work. It does an evaluation, the mesh value, it does regular, and I've lost I started doing it 30 years ago because I lost a couple of clients because I wouldn't do it. And I said, hell with it, we're going to do it. And we started doing it. And the big firms ain't going to do it, I can tell you, because it's just too much. It runs into their margins. But if you can get it systematized, I think that's one way. I love the newsletters, what you're talking about. You know, I really believed in that. When I had growing my law firm, I was spending I was number 2 in the TV market, spending about $1 million a year. This is a long time ago. A
little more now.
But I still did a newsletter every other month. I sent birthday cards. I sent a July 4th card. I sent a Thanksgiving card with a calendar magnet. And we stayed in front of them. We did we did a big thing every year, a client appreciation day. We brought people in. We had bands. We had food. We did a lot of things in the community. We did a lot of sponsorships, not just the ball teams, but stuff for the charities and stuff that we had that somebody in the firm had a story to tell, like their parents or somebody had cancer or whatever, and got the whole team involved. And as a result, even though we were spending a lot of money on SEO, we're spending a lot of money on TV, radio, 42% of our cases still came from referrals from old clients. I'm not going to say I got a load from the lawyers because I was advertising back in a time when lawyers hated TV. They hated TV lawyers. They did. But I think you're absolutely right. And let me ask you this, because this is what I see most lawyers have the hardest. And it is hard, but you've got to differentiate yourself. You got to give people a reason to hire you over to other lawyers. I mean, do you ever deal with that with clients? Because, always in my mind, you got to answer 2 questions. Do I need a lawyer? And if I do, why should I choose you over all these other people I see on TV, radio, billboards, Facebook ads, whatever, everywhere? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I'm going to jump back to the Walmart thing that you had said earlier too, because I fully believe that the same thing happened where firms were questioning the internet, and now the same thing is happening with AI. But to hit the point that you just talked about here is, I think firms, when it comes to marketing, one thing that is just grossly neglected is the firm's messaging and positioning. And the way that you described it there, it's what are the thoughts that are occupying the mind of the prospect about you and your firm and your abilities compared to all the other options that they have at their disposal? It's not just your competitors of the firms that are down the street, right? It's those that believe that they can do it themselves, they can go to the self-help website, or that they don't just pursue the case at all, right? Maintaining the status quo is also a competitor, right? So when you're looking at trying to be what I would call like the red dot in the white circle, you've got to find what resonates with the individuals in your market and your ideal client profile. And that just doesn't mean that you throw up a tagline like, we treat you like family, or get the justice you deserve, or we fight hard. It's like, what are you doing that is going to separate you from all the other cookie cutter templated types of firms that are out there, so that when they either land on your website, they read your content on social, or they pick up your newsletter, they understand that like, this is the firm for me. And it doesn't always have to be about business. When people and firms are sharing a little bit more about, why they started the business, the people that they help, what really differentiates them from other firms, that's where you start to really gravitate towards people that are going to come to you because they feel like they've made some sort of connection. It's not just the gavels and the columns and the law libraries there. You really got to put investments behind brand. And now kind of roping that all back into, like, we see AI generated search. Much of that is using like the citations out there from legal directories, which usually come up from branded searches, right? So it's this evolution of, we've got to keep up with technology and make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position that differentiates us, and we just don't look like the same old, same old.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard though. I mean, when I was practicing, I came up with something that was just kind of weird, but it worked. I call it my 30-day client service satisfaction guarantee.
Okay.
Client service. Not that we were better, not that we could get more money, but that we give a really top-notch client service. And if they won't, we give them a 30-day guarantee, they could get the file of the case, no fees. And that was a real mover. in our market because it took away the risk. I did get 2 bar complaints saying I was guaranteed results. I said, no, you're not. You didn't listen. It says that I said no firm can guarantee results, neither can we. But we can't even guarantee you if you're not completely satisfied the way we treat you in your case. First 30 days, going to get you filed, no fees, no call. That's our 100% 30-day client service guarantee.
Right.
Everybody thought I was crazy, but you got to be able to back that up too, though. You know what I'm saying? You got to paper them to death. You got to call them. You got to handhold them. It takes a little bit more. It's not run of the mill. So, yeah, I mean, I think I always tell lawyers, if you ever work for the defense side, use that. If you ever, something that stands you out. I mean, if you or any of your family members ever got a bad wreck, use that. Let them know you know what they're going through. I mean, I just think that there's so many different ways to do it, but it is hard and nobody puts a lot of time in it, which I think that's like the foundation of your house. It's like what you were saying, you got a message, you got to do the right message and you got to get it to the right people. You can't, you're not going to satisfy everybody. You're not going to be everything to everybody. You'll be nothing to nobody,
Gotta be right time, right channel, right person, the frame.
So what are you seeing out there that's changing? I mean, this AI stuff seems to be like, how's that going to affect the small firms or just everybody as far as marketing?
It's top of mind in most of the discussions that I am having from both sides, where you have firms that are really well established, have been investing in SEO for quite some time. They've got, well optimized content. They were dominating search. They have a strong local presence. And we're seeing that a lot of these firms, because of that content strategy, which hopefully is helpful content, are appearing, whether it's in, AI mode was just rolled out to 200 plus countries in over 40 languages, not even a week, 2 weeks ago. You have AI overviews, which are all AI generated content, 0-click content, which essentially is being pulled from websites and other online resources where you've had, the opportunity to share your perspective or highlight, the services that you are offering. I think you have to look at it by applying not only, current SEO best practices and those sound principles, but making sure that you don't just use it in a way that's going to, get you in some hot waters. I think there's plenty of ways that you can use AI outside of attempting to show up on search to make your firm more productive, more efficient, save time, increase utilization all day long, right? But we shouldn't just be going there and taking it as gospel. We've got to verify it. We've got to edit it. And you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where, you'll get in some hot waters. The firms that haven't invested in a content strategy or they don't have a lot of information out there, I would encourage them to at least start, right, producing content that is more educational and informational so that the users who are going through their due diligence process can basically get their questions answered and go to search and have more of a conversational type of experience than they're used to in a traditional Google search, right? But there are tools out there that are attempting to track, visibility and placement within AI generator results and LLMs, but it's very different. It's not a traditional search ranking like algorithm, which like slots you into positions 1, 2, 3, or 8, 9, 10, right? I can do a search this morning, this afternoon, many times I'm getting a very different variation, similar result, but that's just a challenge that a lot of firms are trying to keep up on. I just say, you can't just neglect it. There are some firms that are looking at it to say, yes, it's a threat. We don't want to use it. That's not what we're going to do. I think those firms are putting themselves at risk. Whereas the other firms that are at least attempting to learn and apply it in a lot of different applications are going to be the ones that can separate themselves and not get left behind.
Don't it kind of remind you when the internet, a lot of lawyers stuck their head in the sand, and I saw this group of younger lawyers that were just killing it, getting trucking cases and all this stuff, and these older lawyers couldn't figure out how they were getting all these great cases. And it's like one guy told me, I asked somebody, this has been, God, like 2000, 2000. Okay. What do you think about, oh, it's just a fad. It's just a fad. It's going to pass. And I went out and hired a company in 2001 and got a website going and got it, started doing SEO and everything. And thank God we did. I mean, because we needed it. But I hear people arguing both ways that you can't use, that Google frowns on AI generated content. And then, but yet they said they don't care officially they say they don't care as long as it's good and relevant content, it's helpful. But then I see people that study it and say, hey, it just doesn't do as well. I don't know. I mean, what do you hear and what are you seeing?
I've learned over the past 15 plus years, right, what Google says and what Google does, they don't always vibe. They don't always match up. That being said, listen, there's content out there that exists that we know is entirely written by AI. And some of those pages rank. I think as you dig a little bit deeper, the firms that like really, really lean into it and kind of abuse it. I've seen firsthand some websites that just completely, the traffic fell off of a cliff. And we try to tie that back to different algorithm updates, whether it was helpful content, whether it's spam. Those are things that a solid SEO outfit is going to help you just diagnose and put in a plan of action for recovery. I think that many firms can use it for content ideation. I think that they can use it to really like fine tune it as an editing tool, right? I don't like to go to chat. Like we use it at LegalFenix. I use it within my newsletter, my LinkedIn content. I host monthly webinars, right? I have fed chat so much information and background about me, the business, the clients that I help, my messaging, my positioning, my tone of voice. So now after every single morning, I sit down, 15, 20 minutes, I write my LinkedIn post. I used to like spend a little bit of time just to edit it, make sure, no grammatical errors, things like that. I pop it into chat. Hey, look for inconsistencies, look for grammatical errors. If there's any superfluous language, right? Like tighten up. I tend to write, or at least the stories that I tell are a little bit punchier. It's not always going to be like a complete sentence, but it's starting to understand. And I felt like it makes some things, at least my writing, a little bit more clear. There's other things that, we've done for law firms to help put them in a similar position, whether they're trying to have a newsletter and they have different variations, whether they're on podcasts and they upload a transcript to try to get summaries for show notes, right? Like I've attended PILMA events where you see people using these tools to really do things in different languages. They're trying to repurpose it for other marketing channels. Like I think that the sky, it feels like it's the limit here, but
it is. I think it is. I like to use it, and it's just me personally. I like to use it to give me draw me an outline. I want an article. I want an outline for an article or a paper or a PowerPoint that I'm gonna do on this subject matter. Do it in my voice. Da 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 da. And then I'll take that, and then I'll dictate from that. And then I'll put it back in and say tighten it up. But make it sound, make it flow better or whatever. Get the grammar correct. But it speeds it up. I think that's the big deal. It speeds it up. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I might miss something. And most of the time, I would never just trust it. Say, write me a 2,000 word article on Dram Shop and put it on my website. No, I think that would be stupid. But I might ask it to write me an outline and then let me dictate an article about it or something or some content. But because I think the way you say it in Louisiana is going to be different than you say it in New York or Seattle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, or Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think things resonate different in different areas of the country. I just think they do. Yeah. But I think it's here to stay. And I think it's one of the, I'm scared of it, to be honest with you, because it's got so much, not just for the marketing and stuff, but I mean, just for humanity. It's just, I'm not seeing Congress or the federal government doing anything to kind of put some reins on it or some guidelines, some rails up. Right now it's the Wild Wild West, and that scares me. Not in the marketing, but just in social media per se, and what the content can be. With this avatars and shit, you can have people that you can take somebody that's I said they did that last year. Had Putin up there on stage saying certain things, and I'm seeing all these videos of these golfers, and they got them saying stuff, cussing out other golfers. And I said they didn't do that, but it looks just like them, and their mouths moving. You know what I'm saying? And they take their stuff that what they take. It's like Hey Jen and these different things that can just, and then you just type it out what you want to say, and they can say ludicrous stuff. And the problem is a lot of people believe it. A lot of people believe it.
Yes.
And I think it hurts in politics too, which I don't want to get into top politics, but I just think either side you're on, I think it hurts.
Yeah. Especially with social and the algorithms, a lot of people in the feed, it's an echo chamber.
Which brings me to something, Ron. So when you run these CMO services, helping people fractional, what's your advice to lawyers about social media? Because I'm just being honest, the companies I've seen that try to do it for companies, for law firms, they just usually don't get their voice for some reason. I don't know. When they just put, especially if it's static, I think when you're doing video, if you're using them, you got a better shot at it. But when I see these companies use static, just pictures and things like that, that really come across. I don't think it really helps them. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that the check the box approach is going to drive the results that you're really hoping for. Firms will pay whatever it is some of the agencies charge. And listen, if you want to make sure that you're celebrating specific holidays, or they're going to do more of a general post about sharing blogs or job opportunities or awards that have won, I just think that you're leaving a lot on the table. There's so much more opportunity that's out there. You talked about like AI and bots and these agents. Like LinkedIn comment threads are turning into just running. It's run rampant with spam. And if you have just an ounce of authenticity and you are genuine and you're sharing about your experiences, and whether it's the hardships that you've gone through, the success that your clients have had, like those are stories that people enjoy reading. And most times, they can tell it's actually you. The social stuff, again, you just have to know what you're really buying. As far as personal branding or attempting to like have a voice on one of these platforms, I think you got to try it out yourself. I think you have to go out, you have to test some content. I'm in supportive of firms that even want to work with ghostwriters. There's some incredible ones out there that really help you find your voice, and you don't have to be posting every single day or multiple times a day to make a splash on some of these platforms. I think if you just go out there with the intent to help some of the people that you serve, educate, inform people, and just share stories that, are authentic, right? You're going to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I'm real big on educational marketing. I think I read this somewhere, the more you tell, the more you sell without selling. You said something earlier about Dan Kenny used to say it like this: you're entering the conversation that's on the person's mind. If you can figure that out, like somebody that's been in a wreck, what is going on in their head, what's the conversation they're having with their wife or their spouse, and hit that point, that pain point, or whatever it is, enter that conversation with your marketing, you're going to do okay. Yeah. But you got to figure that out, right? That's the $64,000 question. But if you can figure that out, and what is it, I think you go a long ways. Because I think that also, I just think the more you can help people, I think it gives them, know, like, trust, and remember. And I think when you're helping people like that, even if they don't hire you, I think you're doing the right thing, and I think it's going to help you down the road, and they're going to trust you more. I've had people I've turned down their cases, and I told them the truth. This case is bad, because he said, well, the other two firms I called just said they won't take any more right now. And I appreciate your honesty. And then about 2 weeks later, I got another call, and they had a real case of her cousin, and that was $1 million case. But it's because she called me back because I told her the truth. You know what I'm saying? You just never know, man. You never know. So I think it's being authentic and just educating people and being truthful. Yeah, I agree.
Again, it comes down to that foundational marketing principle of just like having well thought out strategic messaging, positioning. A resource that I always shout out is April Dunford's Obviously Awesome. It's an incredible book. It is written more towards more of like B2B tech companies, but there's some great nuggets in there for service professionals Founder Brand by Dave Gerhardt. Like there's a lot of resources that are out there that can kind of walk you through a framework to help you position your service in a way that identifies your unique selling propositions, right? Like what is it that you can do in order to separate yourself from the entire pack? You just have to educate yourself and you have to give it a shot.
Yeah, I agree. So if somebody's interested in your services, again, explain you're a fractional CMO company. So who would be who's your ideal client?
Yeah, I mean, it's firms that have struggled articulating what their marketing strategy is. If there's one that's even in place, they really can't handle the administrative burden of overseeing vendors or giving the time and attention to in-house marketing resources so that they can thrive. A lot of firms approach us when they're in the midst of a potential transition or about to make a very big investment and they want to dot their I's, cross their T's, just do a little bit more due diligence, right? We've done project-based stuff and some firms are much longer term investments, but we try to customize the solution to your needs. And it's pretty much designed to flex as those needs ebb and flow. The best place would be to check out LegalFenix.com. We have a newsletter that's delivered every Friday. It's just free, actionable insights delivered right to your mailbox, your inbox. And I'm producing content and posting almost every day on LinkedIn. Come out, connect, follow. I'm happy to help any way that I can.
And LegalFenix is not spelled the way it sounds. It's not like Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, if you type that in, you'll get there too. I got that domain as well, Ken. So
you're smart.
Either FENIX or you could spell it correctly and a couple of other incorrect ways, and it'll get you to the right place.
I did the same thing when I opened my law firm. I got Ken Hardison. I got it spelled with I's and E's and T's instead of D's. That's smart.
I'll tell you, there's one domain out there that I wasn't going to pony up for the cost, but the other ones I've got them. I've got almost all of them.
Good deal. All right. Well, take care and look forward to talking to you again, my friend.
Thanks so much, Ken. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.